Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing With Sleezy, the podcast. This is season 4, episode 19, and I am recording this live from Hendersonville, Tennessee. I've been down here visiting friends, but the podcast can't stop, and I got to keep recording. So I'm doing this show live via Zoom. And so, like I said, this is episode 19. So my special guest is someone that I actually met at Bonnaroo through one of my favorite people, Mary Jarrett. And Mary Jarrett, this girl is Mary Jarrett's best friend, and this girl's also super fucking cool. And I got to know her there. And she is a teacher, an educator, and a traveler, and a music lover, and does t-shirt, and just does all kind of a wide range of things. So I am very glad to have my special guest is none other than Andrea Wyatt. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Just like you said, I'm coming back from a lot of travels right now. So it's like feeling my body changing. I'm getting older and I feel like these travels are kind of like, hey Andrea, remember you're 33, hit the stomach. Hey Andrea,
Hey, it happens. It happens. We get older, but you know what? I think you just gotta as long as you don't stop and you keep doing things, the body ain't gonna stop.
Yeah, and like I think that was my tactic this time around. So like I haven't stopped, and now my body's like skirt, skirt. Here's an allergy attack. Skirt, skirt. We're gonna keep you up for 24 hours. Skirts. Yeah. In the body's like, fuck you right now.
Yeah, and when you get tired, like that's when I get sick. Like I know I've overdone it. I'm literally like in bed, like I'm chilling. So yeah, it can really kick your ass when you get tired. So let's dive into that though, the travel. So you just went to Japan.
Just went to Japan and South Korea.
South Korea. So shout out to both countries there. So you have to tell me about it. So how was Japan?
So Japan's great. I'm actually gonna swerve to South Korea first because I feel like everyone's like, oh, Japan looks dope. Like I love anime, I love sushi, I can't wait to go. And it's like all those things are absolutely true. But I think people are sleeping on South Korea. Like it's just as I would say it's just as dope as Japan. Like, and I'm gonna even say that I think I like their food more.
Oh,
Uh
nice.
yeah, I do. So shout out to Korean barbecues. That is like thebomb.com. Have you ever done a Korean barbecue?
Yeah, so I did it actually for Charles's birthday. I went
Wait,
to
I was gonna say
one
probably with Mary.
at the old BW3's location there in the Highlands, and I
Yeah.
was blown away. I remember actually Mary filmed my reaction to the Korean barbecue, and I was in total shock. Like I was in disbelief because I also didn't realize like we're gonna cook it at a table,
Yeah.
and I it just everything about it was cool. And now too, talking about Korean barbecue, I don't know if you've heard of a place. It's in Bowling Green and it's like in Nashville and Hendersonville down here, but it's a place called Slim Chickens. And
Mm-mm.
it's like a Chick-fil-A, Cane's, like that kind of style food. And they got a Korean barbecue sauce. And
Okay. Oh,
woo, I was dipping my tenders in those a couple days ago, and I want to tell you what, it was life changing. This sauce
is it
goes
spicy?
hard. Oh yeah, it's spicy. It's got a kick, and I was like, and I'm sitting there eating it, and I was like, man, they really made this taste like Korean barbecue. So shout out to Slim Chickens for doing that.
Yeah. And shout out for Gogi because they're they're doing it here in Louisville and it's good. So I actually like my birthday is in a couple weeks and I told my parents I was like I've taken them to like Vietnam Kitchen, I've taken them to Kashmir, I've taken them to like different places. They stay pretty grounded in their ethnic foods, right? Like they're not going to go unless I take them. So
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, I'm going to take you to Korean barbecue. I really love how communal it is. You sit around the grill and you have to learn how each person like eats their meat and cooks their meat and you have that conversation and like food brings people together anyway. And I'm like, plus like the cheesy corn is delicious and that cheesy corn is good. So but yeah, so shout out to South Korea first. Let me get this dog under control because she's the
Oh,
light
it's
of my
all
life.
good. A
She's
lot of
fast.
people when they're on the show, especially Zoom, their pets make appearances. So shout
Yeah,
out to the pets.
she's obsessed with me. But yeah, so Japan like is everything you want it to be. It's like you get there and everything is like lit up. It's neon. It's exactly how you picture it. There's tons of people everywhere. Everyone is beautiful. Everyone is dressed. They look beautiful from head to toe. Their style is off the chain. Like you have traditional businessmen, but then you also have like anime style girls, and they like are on the subway together. So there's just this like really cool modge podge of people. Like I felt really boring. I'm like, man, I just look like big white and boring in my like plain t-shirt and Birkenstocks. Like, oh God, but yeah, it was beautiful to look at, and something that, there's no trash cans. So that was like a big takeaway.
Wow.
So if you're traveling to Japan, you should bring a bag with you, because that's where you put your trash.
Okay.
You are responsible for your trash. And I think it kind of goes into like the way they live their life of like, you must be responsible for yourself. And like, they don't throw it on the ground. There's like not one thing of litter anywhere. You just carry your trash and recycle it appropriately.
That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad people are like holding, and that's good that cultures do that. And we need to learn that over here. Like, definitely to be held accountable. And, even though there's places where they put fines for like littering and different things, people still don't follow that. And oh man, what really pisses me off is two places, really, especially, is a beach or a park. And I see shit on the ground, I fucking lose my shit. I'm like, God damn, there's fucking trash cans everywhere, So, but that's really cool that they have, because I know Japan they do so well, so civilized, such a great country, and that they're able to survive without having garbage cans. Like, that's probably a smart way to do it. I mean, it's a wake up call.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, you know what? You bought this trash, you're going to keep this trash, and you're going to hold on to it for a really long time and think about your trash. And maybe next time you won't buy that trash. Like, I felt punished. I was like, my God, I can't get rid of this. And like at the end of the day of like walking around, I have like all this stuff with me. And I'm like, did I really need this like mocha latte and this matcha latte and this little, like, you build up. And I was like, okay, I think it taught me a lesson of like, I want to buy the ice cream cone that I can eat all the way, or like, things like that. Like, what can I buy that I will totally consume? Because I don't want to carry this for 4 more miles. So,
and you're like sticking in like your hoodie jacket and like different areas. You got like cups everywhere, and you just like, when you get to the hotel, it's like cups are raining everywhere.
Yeah, I'm just like pouring out ice cream out of my jacket. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
What was different over there that from here that you thought was a big like eye opener for you, besides
the no trash cans, just how quiet it was. Like on the subway, jam packed. Like we're having to like, somebody is smelling my armpit because like our arms are up, and like, I mean, jam packed. And there's two things. One, how quiet it was. You could hear a pin drop. Mary even got like a video of me kind of like giving the shush face, because it was so weirdly quiet with that amount of people. And then the same was true in Japan and in Korea. There's a section of the subway that's dedicated for like the elderly, pregnant people, or like if they're, handicapped in some way. And literally the entire subway can be filled and those 3 seats stay open. Like, wow. even if it's not being used, then no one uses it. So I think it's just this like level of respect and kindness, and like people are just trying to make other people around them comfortable all the time. Almost to like, I wonder if it's a shyness rather than a respectfulness, like, are they afraid to voice themselves, or is it just like, nope, I don't want to inconvenience you? But I was very much in love with that. Just it was quiet, it was clean, no one's yelling, no one's cussing, like no one's gross looking. I was like, my God, this is like unlike any other place that I've ever been.
Yeah, so that's refreshing too. That sounds refreshing. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I felt that when I went to Norway. That's how I felt. I looked around. I was like, everyone's beautiful. Everyone is like very civilized, clean. There's no disgusting people. and and it's just like it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy how other cultures just sometimes you look around and you're just like, man, they really got it together.
And,
What
and
was
real quick, like we talk about like beauty in people, and then we talk about how clean everything is. But last year I went to India, and it is the complete like there are no trash cans, but trash is on the street. People are, everywhere. There's no traffic pattern. So total chaos. In order to get around, they honk. So it's lots of loud. People are yelling, like the complete opposite of Japan. But it was also beautiful. And obviously like going to the bathroom on the street is not the most beautiful thing. And that's kind of gross. But like there is beauty in chaos. And I had that last year. And that was a wild trip. But then going to Japan, it's like there's a current that places have, and they get it, and we get to see it. And I think that's what makes it beautiful, is like seeing this current that exists that we're being invited into. And like at first it's a little bit overwhelming to be so quiet or to be so congested, but then once you get in the flow of it, it's like, oh, this is beautiful. And I always wonder, does America have that? Like when people come here, is there this like current that everybody shares that makes us beautiful? Or do they feel as discombobulated as I do here in America? You know what I mean? I always wonder that. I don't know if I'll ever be able to experience that, but there's something beautiful about it being unorganized as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that's, when you look around, just people traveling in general, I think what you're doing is cool, seeing all these different cultures, again, to explore that, because I think you get to appreciate when you're in different places what maybe you didn't get to expect here or get to see there. And yeah, I think you're completely right. I mean, I've always been obsessed with traveling, seeing anything and everything I can see. Like, I've gone to some of the most ratchet places, some of the most nicest places, and it's just because I want to see it all. I mean, that's just something big to me. Like when I watch TV, I used to just love like Bourdain, love traveling shows, and I still like now, like I'm like trying to take advantage of every weekend I got possible to go out of town, because Louisville's fun. I've seen it all though. Like I want to keep exploring and go see more. So I've seen a lot, but I'm envious of you, and I think it's so cool that you got to see these places. Do you find like in India, when you were there with so many people, because the country is so populated, did you feel like an ant? Did you feel just like, I don't know, what was it like?
So like it was, I'm white, and they made me feel, people were like coming up to us, taking pictures of us, and like circling us with like large groups of people. And like I started noticing people were taking like, they were pretending to take pictures of something, but they're really taking a selfie with me in the background. So I would start creeping up and being like, do you want to take a selfie? And they'd be like, what? So I never really felt small, because I felt like a light was,
you were famous. You were literally famous.
Yeah, I was like, this is wild. Like, I look very different than everybody, and they want to take pictures with me. But I also, like you realize that I think it was more, I realized how big the world was. Like, this is just one place that's this many people, and there's other places that have just as many people, and we're all just kind of doing things at the same time. And it gives me a sense of like, I don't know, like the world goes on with or without me. Like this is still going to happen, whether I'm here or there or wherever. And these people have a life, and I'm just visiting. So yeah, it's a smallness, mostly gratitude, but a little bit of smallness. Yeah.
And it's a crazy feeling too, to kind of piggyback off what you're saying. I get a weird feeling sometimes, like I'm sitting out here in my friend's back patio, just looking out. It's very chill. There was nobody outside, and I'm like thinking to myself sometimes, it's like, because I knew I was about to interview you tonight, and I'm like, man, like she's traveled the world, she's been different places, and it's crazy. It's like we're all on this same planet too. And it's like, even though it took a long time for you to go there, I was sitting there thinking about, yeah, she's been here and she's been there. And I was thinking about it. It's like, I'm just sitting out here. The world is such a big place. Like
Mhm.
we don't really realize it and process it. And it just sometimes I sit there and it's just like it makes me hungry for more. And I was sitting there thinking about just the things you were, saying. And it's just a weird feeling to think like I'm looking out, I'm in the middle of nowhere here in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and it's like you've been in Japan driving go-karts in the city, like, and all these like it's just crazy that we're all on the same planet, but people are all living different walks of life. Like you would think sometimes like we would all do the same shit, but we don't. Like
We don't.
yeah.
But we do. Like I have a shirt and it's on the front it says same, and on the back it says but different.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
that is
and I
true.
do feel like that. It's like, yeah, I don't think, I mean, and not a lot of people in Japan are riding those go-karts, right? That's a high tourist thing, to get us. And it
Oh
was a
shit, I'd
moment.
be riding it. I wouldn't give a shit. If I lived there, I'd be riding that shit every day. That
Dog.
was
It was tight. I asked him, I was like, so like, does the government know that you're just like letting people ride these go-karts in the street, like with cars, like next to you? They're like, they don't know what to do with us. So we're probably not going to be able to do this for much longer. You've got in at a good time. They just don't know how to like regulate us. And so we just keep doing it. And I'm like, yeah, because I mean, we had to get an international driver's license, which was like bullshit. You literally pay $30 to AAA. They look at your ID and they're like, yes, you can now drive anywhere in the world. Like,
fucking wild.
that's all you need. So if you need to go get an international driver's license, go to AAA. It's $30 with a driver's license. Then
Okay.
we get, that's it. That's all you got to do. No test, no nothing. So
That's
we get
kind of
there.
actually that's kind of cool just to get, I feel like.
Yeah. And it only lasts 1 year. So I don't know. Do what you want
Like
with that.
you're like Austin Powers.
Well, so the everything's on the right side and we're driving on the left side. And like, we get these go-karts and they're like, okay, like here's your stop, here's your go. There's no horn. You're going to be with next to cars. Just follow your leader. And I'm like, okay. But like these things go fast. And like Tokyo is very populated. And there was a couple of times where I was like, what the fuck? Like if this car wants to do something to me, it can. And I don't really know like the rules around this, but it was also, we'd get to these crosswalks where there's like thousands of people crossing at one time. And I was like, what the fuck is my life? Because I was also dressed as a minion. They let you dress in like little animal outfits. And I was like, I'm going to be a minion. So I put like the minion hat on with the black cape. And I was like, oh, I'm demonic. I'm loving this. I've got this character. I'm going to ride around Tokyo. And then, yeah, there was like this moment of like, what in the fuck is happening to me? Like, what is this? I was like, this is dope. Okay.
That's
Like,
iconic though. That's iconic. And what's cool
it
too is
is.
like people are looking at you and they're like, they're also seeing that character get up and it just, I bet they're just like going on their way to work and they're just like, holy shit, what the hell? And but no, it's just so cool. I mean, and I was watching that and then I just know that like you and Mary have such a good connection, such a good friendship. So I just there was pictures I like laughed at because I just pictured in my head just you two just overseas.
Okay.
It's such a fun combo.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah,
that's another thing. Like, traveling is best with a person you love.
yeah.
So, however, it doesn't matter how you love them. Like, if you love that person, traveling is so much more fun. And yeah, I often was like, Mary, we could have a reality show. Like, she's wild enough to get the ratings. And I think that I'm funny enough to like hold some comedic relief. And yeah, we'd have these
I would
characters.
subscribe. I would
I think
pay
they
for
would.
that. I would pay for that. I would
We had
subscribe.
this like thing going on. So like there's a lot of moss everywhere we went. Like we'd go to like temples, there'd be moss. It was really cool. And I told Mary, I was like, Mary, I want a photo shoot right now. Like I want us to like stop the group stuff. I want to take a photo shoot, senior picture style of me on this moss wall. So I'm posing and I'm like, I'm getting into character and I'm like, I want to make a music video to, instead of I'm bossy, it'd be I'm mossy. So the whole trip, anytime we'd see moss, I'd be like, music video time. Like I'm ready to lay on this moss. We're in these like, there's like families and people being like very proper. And I'm like rolling on the moss, like going into things. Yeah, it's so good. And she did it. She went along with it. And we have not made the music video. So Mary Jared, if you're listening, we have some work to do.
That would, oh my God, I would download the shit out of it. That would be
I'm
awesome.
the first one to sit on the grass. That's right. I bring all the bugs to the yard because I'm mossy.
Oh, this is fire. Okay, that
Yeah.
goes hard. Okay, I want to be
Yeah.
on the remix. I want to be on the remix for sure. That
Mhm.
goes hard. You know, I talking about moss. Moss. I appreciate some good moss. I was in New Orleans and I went to the New Orleans Zoo. They had that Spanish moss or whatever, like hanging from the tree,
Mhm.
and it just is beautiful. It's kind of cool. It's spooky. Like moss just brings a good vibe.
So I'd like to pivot to moss for a little bit. I was in this book club in 2020, and this girl, love her. She's so smart, so educated, loves animals. She had us read a book about moss and how moss is similar. The way it organizes itself in nature is very similar to the way people organize themselves in society.
Okay.
And I wish that I paid more attention to the book to where I could bring that with this conversation here. But yeah, it like communicates in a very similar way to the way people communicate in order to grow. So moss is pretty cool. Moss is like necessary for anything to survive. The second thing that I love about moss is my grandmother, she retired on Jekyll Island, which is like South Georgia, right above Florida.
Okay.
And Spanish moss hangs from their oak trees. And I was talking to my mom about it today in the car, and I'm like, there is something like there are secrets that are held in Spanish moss. And I feel like that with New Orleans, it's like there's this like heavy history in these places in the South. And I feel like the Spanish moss holds it, and it like gives it a secret. Like it's like what holds the secret of the South are some of those like Spanish mosses like on their plantation. So I actually have like quite a connection to moss. Not sure where it's coming from, but I do want to make a music video about it, and I do want to get married under the
Yeah,
Spanish moss trees. They're
I
gorgeous.
like it. I like it because I think you should also maybe like focus on the moss you saw in Japan and then include the Spanish moss. I mean, and
Hmm.
then kind of do like a moss mix.
Oh
Like
my
you can
god.
really just get all this moss. Just I don't know. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
The moss mix.
Yeah, the moss mix. I like that. It's like,
So good.
ooh, that's the mixtape, the moss
That
mix.
is.
That so
So
that'd be
good.
fire. That'd be fire. And so let me ask you this. So I saw that you two went to a baseball game in Korea.
We did.
So how was that? Because
Boots on Bears, baby. Boots
baseball
on Bears.
is huge over there. Baseball is big time. And see, I had Cody Bear. Shout out to Cody Bear talking about Bears. And I had
Mhm.
Bear on my podcast back a couple seasons ago, and we talked about Korea. We talked a little bit about baseball, but baseball is fucking big there. And so how fun was that? Like you
Super
probably
fun.
felt like you were at a concert.
So the baseball game in Japan was better than the baseball game in Korea.
Oh, so you did both. You did Japan.
The group that we went with, they went to the game in Japan. We went to the game in Korea, and like based on our conversations, Japan was like the dope one. It was like their cheerleaders were on point. They had like people with kegs like pouring stuff, and like you would just like raise your glass, and they would come pour beer into your cup with these little keg backpacks. And the girls are all like cutesy and like in their little outfits. So that was and they also filled their stadium. So I think where we were in the baseball game, like their stadium wasn't filled, and like a crowd makes something, like makes or breaks it. So I felt like we might have missed out on a better game in Japan. But in Korea, yeah, few things are dope. Number one, you can bring your own food and your own beer into it.
Nice.
They're not trying to rip you on some money. The ticket itself was like $7, so it's like very affordable. They have a great cheerleading team that does dances like during the show. They have their own like hype man who's like, I would imagine what he's saying is like, give it up for number 32, and like everyone is going crazy, and they all pick their own songs, and yeah, they definitely
being a hype person like that for like an American baseball team or
do.
softball.
We have one?
There's no hype person in our
No.
in our set, but I could see you doing that.
I feel like I could. I'd be like, up next to bat, we've got number 22.
Well, we do have the person that does we do have the PA announcer that like announces the people that come to bat, and then you got the people that are like between innings that are like do the trivia on the board, or like
Mhm.
we got the helmet toss, from Skyline
Yeah.
Philly. But
Kiss cam.
I feel like you would be great with the promo thing, like get you with the backpack with like the shooter where you're shooting the t-shirt gun out and launching it in the crowd. Yeah. I think you'd be good at that. Like you would be like, let's give it up, 19.
Number
So
19. Yes, but the game was fun. I had never done that before. Like I've been to Korea before, but never seen a baseball game. And I think if I were to tell somebody, I would say do it in Japan, skip out on the Korea.
okay. Did the team you were rooting for in Korea, did they win?
Everyone's winning when you're drinking beer. So,
okay.
So it's fine. So I leaned in pretty hard because I knew that I was going to get like some sort of like sports thing from like a souvenir. They're the Bears, the Busan Bears, which is a beer brand, and the Busan Bears, and like everything's so cutesy over there. So these little teddy bears, that's their mascot. Yeah. So I get a jersey because I'm like, this is cute, I want this. And then they had this headband with the two bears that come out over it. And like they come up and like you wiggle and they like shake it, whatever. So I really leaned into this. I spent like $100 on this outfit. I'm like, I'm going in. I'm going to be a real baseball fan. So we leave the game and I'm still in my Busan Bear outfit. I'm feeling myself. Like I said, like I had some beer. And we're on the way home to our Airbnb. And like, there's this dope steam dumpling like shop on the way home from the Airbnb, like so critical. Like you can just stop and get like a 6-pack of dumplings at any time of the day, right? This place was like chef's kiss. So I'm like, ooh, Mary, we're gonna slide in for some dumps real quick. I'm gonna get a little mandu. And the guy's like, Busan Bear? I'm like, yes, I'm a fan now. Like I'm a fan. And he's like, oh, let's turn on some music while I make these dumplings. I'm like, okay. So he like cranks up these tunes. I'm in my Busan Bears. I'm feeling it. Mary's videotaping it. I mean, this is a whole moment, right? And the guy's just jamming, and all of a sudden the song busts out in English. He's like, me so horny, me so horny. And I'm like, I stopped dancing and I'm like, no, it's not good language. No good language, bad language. And he's like, I don't understand. I'm like, so Mary's like, it means have sex. And he's mortified, like absolutely just like so embarrassed. And he's just like turns the music down. And like, I felt like my little bears were like, oh, like so sad that like I turned off the party, but like he had no idea what he was saying.
Mary, I can see Mary. It means this guy's like crying, making dumplings. He's just like, I threw in a couple extras.
I know. I felt so bad. Like they don't want to. Like I embarrassed him. That's kind of like scandalous. So I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, man. Like, so then he turned the music down. Like I had my dumplings, and I was like, I'll see you tomorrow because I'm literally here every day. Like, sorry.
These are fire. So.
These are fire, dog. You can get these like it was the steamed buns or the steamed dumplings. And it was like $4 for like 10 of them. Oh, I had too many. Too many. They were so good. So fucking good. So yeah, that's my Busan Bear.
Well, did you have sushi over there?
Mm-hmm. We did sushi. We did a pretty cool sashimi night where we learned how to drink sake with sashimi and eat sashimi, so you can like pair it. So okay, there's also the Wagyu beef versus the Kobe beef.
Okay, I want to hear about this.
All right. So first of all, as like a part of our thing, we called Kobe beef, and Mary and I don't know where this came from, but we called it Kobe beef. Okay. So all trip, we're like, we got to find the best Kobe beef. And so we're like walking around and like, we're trying to explain to people, like, we're looking for Kobe beef. They're like, I'm like, Kobe beef. Anyway, so we go to this like sashimi Wagyu pairing, and we're talking to the guy as best we can. And, you drink a lot of sake, and I'm like trying to explain to him what Kobe beef is. It's not translating. And I'm just an ass at that point. And so we ask him, we're like, you're serving us Wagyu. Is Kobe beef that much better than Wagyu? Because like, this is affordable, and Kobe beef is so expensive. And he's like, people who get Kobe beef it's not worth the price. Like, whatever. And so I was like, it kind of reminds me of bourbon. Like if you're a bourbon drinker, you are always going to be like, yeah, the Willet bourbon is whatever. But like, I don't really drink bourbon, so Old Forester's perfect for me. So whatever. So I was like, okay, so maybe it's not.
It's kind of like it's like if you're bougie, you're bougie, you know, kind of.
Yeah. Or if you believe something's better than it is, or what, if you're into meat, you might taste the difference. But I'm like, I don't know. I eat Texas Roadhouse. Like, I don't really think it fucking matters.
I fuck with Texas Roadhouse.
I fuck with Texas Roadhouse too. So we had Wagyu first, and we never got Kobe beef. We didn't get any while we were in Tokyo. And so we go on to Korea. Now we had one night left, and we had to go back to Tokyo in order to come home. And I was like, Mary, we've got to get a Kobe beef dinner. Like, if we do not get the Kobe beef, we're gonna be pissed. I was like, how much money do you have? It's our last night. Like, let's put all of our money together and let's go get the Kobe beef. She's like, all right, I think I found something. And she's like, in English, they spell it Beth Tech. I'm like, let's go to Beth Tech, Beef Tech. I'm like, that sounds good. Let's go there. So we look at the menu and we know that this is going to be pricey. And we show up in the best outfits we had, which were not that great. We walk in, they're like, do you have a reservation? We're like, nah. They're like, let us show you the menu with our prices. We said, we are fully prepared to pay these prices. We looked at the menu. Like, we know that this is expensive. There's like red curtains on the walls, and like, it's very quaint. And there's like a chef for every person. We're like, yes, we look like shit, but we want to eat here. So we sit down, and it's a little weird. Like I said, like, we eat at Texas Roadhouse. So like, this is not Texas Roadhouse. Yeah. And the chef we get, so they don't really have hibachi. Like, I don't know. It was kind of difficult to translate with him, but like, basically like a chef will cook for like 2 to 3 people on the grill. So kind of like how we have a whole bunch of people, they do that in like small scale. So our chef was like, where y'all from? We're like, Kentucky. And like, everyone is like, oh, KFC. We're like, yeah, but also bourbon. Like, there's more to Kentucky than chicken. And so then it started this whole thing. They'd bring out a bottle and they'd be like, Kentucky. We're like, that's us. Next bottle, they'd be like, Kentucky, and like point to the label. We're like, that's us. So then it became a whole thing. They're bringing every bourbon that they have in the back. That's and epic. So we're like, just so that they could like communicate that they knew where Kentucky was. So they like, this is like a 7-course dinner where like there's Kobe beef tartare, there's like raw Kobe beef. It's like, I mean, he is showing us how to eat it, and it is like melting in our mouth. And I'm like, I think that Wagyu guy is a lie, because I think Kobe beef is way worth it. It's way different. It's fire flame. Like, I almost feel guilty for calling it Kobe beef, because it is Kobe beef. And like on the menu, it's like, not every cow is born to be Kobe beef. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so serious. And it is. I mean, it's good.
The cows are chosen.
They are. The cows are chosen, and they're like bred a certain way. They're fed differently. They're massaged daily.
That's so much pressure, you know. It's like to pick which one. And then also too, it's just, man, it's like, to massage them and to do all this stuff. I mean, but you know, it's like, I'm glad they're getting that love. You know, I mean, I know that what they're made for, but I'm glad they're getting that love. You know, I just went and visited some pigs today it's like, I don't eat pork much, but it was a slaughter farm where they slaughter pigs, but they let me come and see the pigs. They are actually behind my friend's horse farm where I'm visiting, and I went down there, and there's 10 of them. They're so cute.
Mm-hmm.
They're so smart.
They're so smart.
Yeah, they're like basically like talking in their pig language to me. But I'm just sitting there looking at them, and it's just, I don't know. It's just like, I'm glad. Like, I'm looking at them, and I'm like, oh shit, I know they're gonna get ate soon. But then I'm also like, oh, they got like a little pond right here, and they got some apples, and they're vibing. That's how like I want to.
Yeah. And they've got it good. Like, I took a class in college called Food and Body Politics, and it ruined me for a little bit. And it was like, not so much like, we did a whole unit on pigs and how smart they were, and like how the pig industry, like their conditions, and it's not some like, in addition to the way the pigs are treated, to upkeep a pig farm that's like in large scale, 80% of the world's water consumption is used for the production of American meat. And that fucked with me. I was like, there are people who need water and we use 80% of it. And it's not just to like give them water. It's like to grow the food that they eat, like to grow the feed, to spray all the like shit that they produce. And then that water, then that poop water goes into streams. And there are like places in North Carolina that have been totally just wiped out because they can't live there because of these like pig farms.
Oh,
And what, and could you imagine like being really, really intelligent, like us, and being stuck in that environment? That's what messes with me. Like chickens, they're dumb as fuck. Like they don't know left from right, and like they're gonna cluck and do their thing. But like a pig knows that they are stuck and they are confined and like they're suffering. It is, that class was difficult, and it wasn't, I think it was like very valuable, but I didn't eat meat for a long time strictly because of that water statistic. I was like, dang, there's a lot of things that we could use water for. Like, I don't know.
there is. And when I worked at Leo Weekly, I actually worked with a like a nonprofit, and they were about getting people water, and it was actually called Water Cell.
Water step?
Yeah,
Water step?
yeah, Water Cell. Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
like really cool, and I worked with them. I like sponsored them, and I let them run in Leo. And I don't know, just people don't realize how important water is. Like I work now like in home flipping, and I'm a project manager where I like get these homes flipped, and but I also have to take care of like tenants and get contractors out. And I'm always taking like the water calls priority, because people just don't realize like water is just such a necessity. And
Mhm.
what's happened in Flint and just other places and just places around the world, it's just people have to, they just don't realize what people are dealing with. But also too, we got to be thankful in Louisville. Shout out to Louisville Tap. We have fantastic,
Gang, gang.
we're like the best water. Some people
Yes.
compete against Philadelphia. Philly has also the best water in the country, so we always compete between them for the best. And I'm a Louisville Zoo member. Shout out to Louisville Zoo, and I get the Trunk Line, their magazine you get as a member, and they had coupons. Well, they had a coupon for a $5 water tour down at the Zorn Avenue, the water tower.
Yeah, the
So
water, yeah.
I paid $5. I got to learn the whole history. I saw the whole museum. I went in the tower. I
Oh
learned
yeah.
the fucking reason why somebody was replaced on the tower. There's all kinds of shit. And I was like, this is the best $5 I ever spent. Shout out to Trunk Line. And so I
Yeah.
learned about so much about water, and I realized, we just got some good water. And then also what's cool, like what other water companies send you free water bottles, and then when you see them at events, they're giving you the water bottles. And then I'm not gonna lie, I'm a softie for a good mascot. I like a good mascot. I know it's a human. I know it's
Doesn't
someone
matter.
dressed up, but I get so fucking hyped when I see at the fair some water Louisville Tap. It's
Yeah.
a water cup, and it's dancing with the eyes and
Yeah.
shit. It's like, man, that's a good vibe. Like that's just me. I
I
mean,
can't wait. So real quick on the mascots, I worked for, shout out again to Texas Roadhouse. I worked for Texas Roadhouse for a while, and they needed somebody
sponsor me.
huh?
I said Texas Roadhouse, sponsor me.
I know, I'm like, I didn't realize it would come up twice in this. No, so I worked for Texas Roadhouse, and they needed somebody to take the mascot out, who is Andy Armadillo. They're like, we need somebody to be Andy's handler, someone that can pass out promotional items. I'm like, yeah, I got that. That's great. So I'd have to put the outfit on him and like make sure that nobody messed with Andy. So there is a Louisville League of mascots. And so you go to these events for, publicity and to pass out promotional items, and you get to know like the Subway Girl. And the Subway Girl, I noticed if she lifted her arms up, she'd have these flaps of lettuce that would drape. So like the Subway Girl was always really interesting to me, because I was like, God, why would they put that flappy lettuce? Like, why are they doing that to that poor
Why have I
Subway
never
Girl?
seen this girl?
I mean, maybe they've upgraded. I don't know. But like the Subway Girl was good. And then there was always like Louis, who else? Little Caesars has one, and he's like the Caesar man, and he goes like his like his like what do you call those things that protect you? His shield is a pepperoni pizza. He was dope. But like,
what about the LG light bulb?
Louis the light bulb, he's there too. Yeah. And so you start to see the same people, right? Like that dress up, like Subway, we know the Subway girl, we know the, and we would make up these like stories, Andy and I'm not going to disclose who it was, but I'd be like, Andy, do you think the Subway girl loves you? Like, she comes around a lot. Like, so we would like make these things up. And yeah, the Louisville League of Mascots is a thing.
Okay, you have just blown my fucking mind. Also, okay, I'm speechless right now, but that's fucking crazy.
Flappy arm lettuce. Arm lettuce.
I'm so speechless about all this because I've never seen this Subway girl. I gotta see this. The second thing about mascots, I don't know if you've been to Western Kentucky's campus or Western
that giant ball.
Big Red, that
big
ball, it's like a red grimace.
Yeah.
And I swear, I got so excited in college. I went to school in Nashville, and my buddy played basketball for Florida Atlantic, and we all went to Western Kentucky to go see him play. He was playing Western. And yeah, I was excited to see my buddy play, but I was more excited to see fucking Big Red in person. And I see Big Red, and I'm like looking at my friends. I'm like, is he gonna eat my head? Because that's the rumor. He eats your head when you fucking like. And so I walk up, take a picture, and he put his mouth over my head.
He ate you?
And I was like getting ate by a fucking Big Red, and it was so iconic. And then I went and got the bobblehead, and I had the Big Red bobblehead for a while, and I'm like, yo, this dude ate me. Like, it's just fucking, it was cool. But mascots go hard. Like, I love a good mascot. I remember when I talking about a good story, you worked at Texas Roadhouse. My first job was Famous Dave's, and they have Wilbur the pig.
Okay.
Well, we would have a bunch of special needs kids that would come into Famous Dave's, and to be honest, some of these kids would literally put their foot down, like, I'm not eating my food until you like get Wilbur out here.
Yeah. Like, Andy Armadillo would freak these kids out. They'd freak out. Like, you'd have to walk the opposite way. Like, some kids are not okay with these humans inside of these.
Well, these kids like wanted Wilbur so bad, they make us get it out of the shed. Well, they come around to people and they go, hey, we'll pay $2 extra on your hour if you dress up. So one night I'm like, I'm 16 years old, first job. I'm like, fuck it, I'll be Wilbur. Give me that. It's a summer job. I throw the fucking Wilbur on, and literally this family was like, can you just dance by him?
Yeah.
A little sweet Down syndrome boy. So I just danced for like an hour as Wilbur.
Wow.
Like, okay, cool. So I tell my boss, I'm like, yo, if you need Wilbur again, like, I'll do it. Well, okay. I do the Wilbur thing for a while. That's cool and stuff. Well, then my boss is like, hey, you're doing really good with special events. This is kind of a horrible story, but you're doing really good with special events. Like, you should start being part of special events. So they had this special event behind the host stand, and I realized it's 20 people deep. And I'm like, oh, there's a little girl at the end of the table. So I go to my boss and I'm like, hey, man, do I need to be Wilbur? And he looks at me funny and he goes, no, man, Wilbur can sit this one out. And I'm kind of like, yo, bro, like, don't have to be a dick about it. Like, I just asked, did the girl want a mascot or not? I'm thinking it's her birthday.
Yeah.
So I walk up, I'm like trying to help the waiter, like, anybody need drinks, I'm food running and shit. So me just being a nice guy, I'm supposed to be part of this event kind of group of employees that like, so I'm like, hey, everybody enjoying themselves? Yeah, thank you. So I go up to her and I'm like, hey, how old you gonna be? It was a Make-A-Wish. It was her last meal.
Oh no.
Yeah. So let's just say I went back.
And they didn't want Wilbur for that?
They didn't want Wilbur. And also I didn't realize. And so my boss thought I was being a dickhead and was like, hey, does she want Wilbur? Like, he's like, no, bro, Wilbur can sit this one out. Everything starts processing to me when I get to the stand. But I literally look at this little girl and I'm like trying to be overachiever, first fucking job, like, hey, how old you gonna be? My mom's like, yo, we're from Make-A-Wish. And I just moved to the host stand. I just kind of grabbed a little bucket with the rag and I just started cleaning tables the rest of the night.
Question. Make-A-Wish, last meal, Famous Dave's?
I swear, that was crazy to me.
What would yours be?
I never would thought it. It was like that literally, they literally were like, this little girl wanted a whole Famous Dave's, big whole Make-A-Wish, everything. And it just blew my mind.
That I think that's the biggest takeaway from that story is that somebody chose that as the last meal.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is probably 2006, but there's also people that like their like last wish is to meet John Cena and different things like that. So it's like there's a John Cena actually. Shout out to John Cena. He's granted the most Make-A-Wishes of anybody on like Earth, supposedly. So I think it's cool, but it's just, yeah, I don't know. Like, but I also like I don't want to be in that position, but I'm also kind of like I would probably make my wish way bigger.
Well, I was gonna say like my last meal would not be Famous Dave's,
no,
or Texas Roadhouse.
What would your last meal be? Not to be morbid. Mine would be WW Cousins.
What? You love the tree? You love that tree in the back room?
I love the fucking tree. Yes.
Is it a tree or is it the toppings bar?
I love the toppings bar. Okay, WW Cousins done a lot of things for me. It is a special place. I've ate there many years since I was a kid. I remember during their anniversary, I was dating some girl in high school, or not high school. It was like, I think it was like maybe after college, like early 20s. And her mom and her, I moved back to Louisville and they took me to Cousins and they had called the manager. They got me a hoodie and the manager got me the hoodie. Well, then when I started working at Leo, I started getting to know the people there. I started doing little commercials. I'm getting free food. And then I remember I brought my friend in town and we went to Cousins and I literally told him, I like manifest. I said, watch this. Line's going to be fucking deep. Like 20 people. It's a Friday night. I'll get called the front of the line, free food. He's like, no. I said, watch. Walk in. Yo, is that Eric back there? I said, oh, fuck, I've made it. Yeah. So I walk up to the front, and the next thing you know, my buddy's like, you think they'll get mad if I threw cheese sticks on it? I said, try it. So the guy gave us like a free burger and fries, and he's like, here's your drink. And I said, man, thank you so much. He's like, bro, he's like, you're family now. And I was like, I made it here. And then my buddy's like, yo, can we get some free cheese sticks too? I said, bro, I didn't think he was really going to ask. They threw in the free cheese sticks. So yeah. And then I took him back by the tree. I was like, bro, this is the tree. Like I showed him the history. And then people don't realize Cousins had a professional food eater come in and they did a burger that was stacked like almost fucking a foot to 2 foot tall. And they created just for this guy and he fucking killed it. His name's like Randy Sandell.
Interesting. You know what else I think is a very underrated part of the Cousins? First of all, if you were in the family, did they call you a cousin or they call you a brother?
I think they call me WW.
You just the WW.
Yeah, they call me, they're like WWE.
WWE.
But rest in peace to the Dixie Highway one. It just got shut down. They tried to do one on the Outer Loop. They tried to do one in Dixie, but no one could talk to you.
Just keep it on Breckenridge Lane. My brother's obsessed with it. We've gone many years, but I would also like to talk about the bakery on the way out.
The cookies, yes.
The cookies with the icing.
Yes, with the smiley face.
With the smiley face, yes.
The white icing with the orange smiley face, it goes hard. And I'm going to another thing that shout out to WW Cousins, for a fucking local brand, they are fucking innovative. That drive-through was created overnight. They fucking got that old speaker box out of storage.
Oh, yeah.
It was fountain storage that they had. They hooked it up. My boy John, he's my friend on Facebook. My boy John, I'll tag him in this shit. He fucking put the speaker box tied together, got a mini board. Then they got the press out there. The press is taking pictures of this shit. Like, W Cousins got a drive-through now. So when I go to the drive-through, not only is it convenient sometimes, but I've realized two things. The only thing, I just got to stay on top of the girl or guy that's working, and I'll be like, yo, you got to remember my sauce. And I always like jalapenos because I can't access the condiment bar from the drive-thru.
Yeah.
I'm also not going to be that guy that's like, Okay, give me seasoned Lowry salt. Give me this pickle. I'm just like, yo,
You
give me.
you gotta keep it tight when you're in the drive-thru.
I gotta keep
Yeah.
it drive-through. Like, I can't be rude. So, and then I'm like, give me the jalapenos. And when they give me the jalapenos, it's like they'll hit me with but they always hit me with do you want anything else? And I'm always like, God damn, I want more from that condiment bar.
Yeah.
What gets me at the condiment bar, the best topping? Mini green olives.
Oh, I love the mini green olives.
They're miniature though. They're literally the size of like maybe smaller than a fucking
Like
a mint,
like a,
oat cert mint.
like a pinky nail. They're tiny.
And I like to put like the seasoned salt, Lowry seasoned salt on them, and I'll sprinkle them on my burger on the top. But then I'll also dip them in barbecue. It's a good vibe, and they're always at the end of the table, like the end of the road, and I'm just like, they're always here.
I really love that they have like a spoon of you spoon the ketchup out on the condiment bar.
And
I'm like,
they spell it different too than
they,
ketchup.
how did
I swear, I could be wrong.
Ketchup?
Correct me wrong. If anybody's listening, I am a WWE Ketchup expert. I could be wrong with this, but I believe they spell it ketchup with like with cat, like a CATSUP.
That's what I think too. I remember SUP, ketchup.
A fancy cat soup.
It's a ketchup.
And the spoon, when you get their ketchup, it's thick.
It's thick.
It's thick. And so is all their sauces.
Yeah.
The sauces are thick. The other thing about their cookies from the bakery, it's a soft cookie, their chocolate chip soft cookie, but it also is thick and has a thick texture. It doesn't break as much. And their brownies are also great.
But it crumbles. That cookie crumbles.
If you really push on it hard, it will. And then they make their own bread. And I will say this: they load up with that butter, but butter.
I love it.
Sometimes it's good. It hits. I'm glad we brought this up. So, let's talk about now, since we've talked about your world travels and we've talked about WW Cousins and where we want to eat before we die. Which I didn't know we were going to talk about that, but let's talk about JCPS and teaching and you being a teacher. So you're an educator.
I am an educator.
I went through the JCPS school system.
Me too, baby, gang.
Yeah, I mean, school was fun. JCPS was fun. And I know JCPS got a lot of hate, and people, when we were younger, they'd be like, it's not like private school. Fuck private school. I was a public school. I shot to public school. So JCPS, I liked it. And what's crazy is the superintendent, I guess that's his name, Polio. He was my principal my senior year.
J-Town?
J-Town, yes.
Yeah.
However, what was dope about Polio literally told our senior class, like, yo, I ain't been your principal. I'm not going to change y'all. Like, y'all do your thing. He was not strict on us. He was strict on everybody else. But he was so cool as a principal. He let us do our thing and do all our goofy shit. And he was just super fucking cool. So, but, I wanted to talk about how is it being an educator?
So that's loaded.
Question.
It's a loaded question. I mean, I think that I was like practicing because I knew we would talk about education, and I was in Indianapolis and I was coming home with my mom and I was kind of like practicing what do I want to say, and I'm like, man, everything I'm saying is coming out kind of like negative.
Well, let's start it off with this. Let's start with this. This is what's fun about podcasting. We can be creative. So we're not all in a negative light about JCPS. Let's say, what are some positives that you have found through teaching so far?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, first of all, I love the realness of kids. Mm-hmm. They're honest, so I feel like they keep me on my toes. They keep me witty. They keep me funny. They teach me how to be engaging. So working with kids first and foremost is like the best. I love feeling that I'm giving kids a safe space to be themselves. The world sucks, right? Being a kid sucks. Like, I remember when you were a kid and the whole world was just like, my hair isn't right and I feel weird and this boyfriend, and like the world is big and sucky. And I feel like providing just 4 walls of safety four walls of comfort, four walls of curiosity. That's lovely. I do feel like JCPS is doing a good job of having more open conversations in regards to equity. And I'm happy about that because I think that's something that we need to continue to talk about. I feel like there's been some, and I think this is like, with any place of business, you have people who do an authentic job of that. And then you have people who just check it off their box and they move on. And I'm sure that happens, but my experience with my admin and my leadership has been, we do have really difficult conversations as educators, especially as white educators, on biases and protocols and things like that. So I feel like I've had some major opportunities for growth in that area. So those are three things that I think I love about teaching. I mean, I love it. I quit for a little bit. I left. I didn't start off last year in the classroom. I did something different. And then it took not even 6 months. I was like, I'm going to hop right back in. And I went back in January and it was like the best decision.
Glad you took that break? Were you glad?
Yeah, absolutely. I worked with young adult felons for a little bit. So I was working with 17 to 24-year-olds who had committed violent crimes and they were trying to, reintroduce themselves back into society. And I felt like it reminded me that teaching gives me the gift of maybe navigating these kids in a different way before they get to that point. And I'm like, you know what? I need to go back to what I was doing. And that felt really good. So yeah, and I needed that break. COVID was hard. Teaching during COVID was garbage. Like, imagine doing a podcast and no one responding to you. It was very lonely. I'm talking to kids and no one's really, they're not there or they don't want to engage and they turn their cameras off. And that was just really lonely and isolating. So I think after COVID, education is not the same at all. It's difficult right now. We don't have enough people. A lot of people have left. We don't have substitutes. It's difficult to get, to take off work and stuff. So since COVID, things are a lot different.
Is it harder to connect to the students after COVID?
No. I would say if anything, kids came back hungry for connection. So I felt like once we got back into school, like I remember that first week back with kids and it was like, I took my mask down. I was like, this is what I look like without my mask. And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, we're all humans. Like, it's okay. Like, and it felt so good to just, to be face to face with them. So I think that they're hungry for connection with adults and with each other. Now, the way that kids are connecting and communicating with each other after COVID is a lot different. We had to relearn a lot of ways to talk to each other. A lot of kids are still wearing masks because they're embarrassed of their face because you're supposed to be ugly and awkward. Like, get over it, move through it. One day you're going to really appreciate the look you have because you had that. So take your mask off and learn how to communicate.
You'll appreciate the glow up.
You really, really will. Yeah. And I have a picture of myself from 6th grade hanging on my wall. And I have the butterfly twisties and my ears are sticking out and my teeth are not, they hadn't had braces yet. And kids are like, Miss Wyatt, is that your daughter? And I'm like, no. They're like, who is that? I'm like, it's me. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, you'll have it too. You'll get it too. Girl, pop off. When you're ready to pop off, pop off. Let me remind you that you're supposed to be kind of awkward. But yeah, so I think education is heavy and it's difficult, but it's so rewarding and it feels good to be a part of a solution. Teaching is very, it's important. It's embedded in the community. I feel like education is a pillar of democracy and it is what connects all people into democracy. Like, if we can't read and we can't write, then how can we make these decisions? So for me, it's not only fulfilling this need to love children, but it's also political. And so it feels good to be a part of that in a way that, I can navigate. I'm not going to be a mayor or a president, but I can be a teacher. That's good.
You never know. You could be. Let me ask you this. Do you feel like the schools this is a big question that I'm always interested, because with my job, I have properties in all these different areas these investors got that they want me to check on. So I drive past a lot of schools I've never been in. I played sports, so a lot of schools, like I play away games there, but there's schools I've never even heard of, especially like elementary, middle school wise. Do you feel like every school's getting their resources JCPS wise equally?
No.
Okay.
No, and I think that it's also like the needs are different. So if you, and I was explaining this to somebody else the other day, like why is it that this school gets new smart boards, but this school doesn't? And I'm like, well, school B has such a high English language learning, uh, population. They took that money and got 2 teachers that speak Spanish. That other school didn't need those 2 teachers, so they could buy smart, So you see that, like, it's not. I would say that it's just not. Yeah, they're not getting the same things because their needs are different. So like there are schools that need more than other schools, and I don't necessarily think that. And that's also school to school. That's a school-based decision. So there's a board for each school. You have a group of people,
Okay.
teachers, community members. Like you can be on the SBDM meeting in your neighborhood if you wanted to, and you can represent the neighborhood. And yeah, you make decisions on how that budget is spent. Not all of it, but some of it. And I think that, for those people that make those decisions, and there's like 7 people on the board, like there's not that many people. And that small group of people can make, some major decisions on how that money is spent. And sometimes they do a good job and sometimes they don't, and they learn from it. But I mean, teachers are creative. We can make do with what we got. It's just, yeah, I don't think like smart boards are going to fix the problems that we're having in the classroom.
No. And wait, that's what I was going to kind of dive into. It's that, what do you find, which I'll dive into JCPS a little bit here in a minute, but what do you find are the biggest issues you're having in the classroom? Not you personally, but just teachers in general. And also, what are some successes that you're finding that you think you're finding as teachers personally in JCPS classrooms?
So I think our biggest, right now, a big hot topic is classroom behavior. Like, I mean, some of the things that, you've heard horror stories and they are true. I don't have a whole bunch of horror stories because that's just not who I am with the kids. And I have a different teaching style than other people.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, those stories are true. And the things that the abuse that we take as teachers is, it's real. So I think, and, Bashir, he just passed this kind of like law where if a student's behavior is becoming like too much of a problem in the classroom, then that child can actually be removed, which is huge. It's controversial. It's also kind of like, for some teachers, we're like, thank God, like this means someone is listening to us, because some of this is really bad. I think that thing, and it's also difficult, like TikTok, for example, or Instagram, like kids are getting information so fast, and they're getting information in small segments, like 2-minute videos, And so here I am trying to give you a lesson that's 20 minutes. They're so bored. They're like, this is why I can scroll through. Like I am competing with technology and social media all the time. And I am not as cool as like Mr. Beast or anything like that. So that's difficult. So I think some of the successes is like to lean into technology. Like we know the kids want to use it. So then let's let them use it in a real world way. So like instead of having them write a paper about Mesopotamia, then I want you to create like a website for it, because I want you to be able to, one, be savvy in the tech field, and number 2, this is like, maybe you won't make a website about Mesopotamia, but you might make a website for a company one day, and that's going to make you a lot of money. So I think trying to find ways to connect things that make sense to them, so that they're like, why am I doing this? Well, this is beneficial to you.
And I think that's important that they use, like, I think it's really cool that you do say that and you believe in that, yeah, they do need to use the technology since they enjoy it. But I do also agree with you from the standpoint they got to use in the right way. You know, something I heard here recently just through a couple maintenance men that actually work for my company. They have kids that go to Fairdale High School, which is part of the JCPS school system. And, you know, an issue they've had at Fairdale is with some bullying of kids creating a couple of Instagrams and people joining it and posting pictures of people basically saying that they did something sexually or something they did when they were little, or embarrassing them, or just making fun of their face and just doing fucked up shit that kids do. But now that technology is out there, you know, it's like more people can get on the joke and get in on the thing. So everybody has to really walk a thin line with it, because you know it can really be a huge blessing or also be a big danger. So I could definitely see how it could just, you know, be a huge distraction in schools. Because I mean, we were all in JCPS, we all looked at our phone and shit, but at the end of the day, technology is way different.
It sucks. It's like I can't compete with it, and I'm not as fast as it. So like with it, like kids have always been mean. Kids have always been bullied. Like, you know, we would write notes or we would talk about people behind their back, but like a text message can go to so many people so fast. And by the time I'm aware of it, like it's really difficult when parents are like, how did you not know that this was happening? I'm like, number one, because we're not supposed to be on our phones. Number two, there's 30 kids. And number three, it takes your kid 30 seconds to write a hateful message and send it to 1,000 people. So, I mean, I can't control everything. Yeah. And so I think that, you know, that's a little bit frustrating. But kids have always been really mean, and now they can just be mean permanently, or they can like make these horrible decisions from peer pressure and post something, and that's there forever. And that hurts my heart. Like when I hear about like photos being pushed around and passed around, I'm like, that's that's life ruining, that's career ruining. Like, and I know that, you know, your 12-year-old brain doesn't understand this right now, but like your internet carbon footprint, so to speak, will last way longer than this time period that you're in. And like, I can't teach that to you the easy way. You're going to find out the hard way when that comes back, you know, and resurfaces itself. I hate that. It breaks my heart, because I'm like, God, you have no idea. That's going to follow you forever.
Because a lot, like, I saw a lot of kids, like when we were in school, do things like not technology wise, but do mistakes that I shook my head and I'm just like, yo, bro, like, what the fuck are you thinking? And now with technology, you are completely right. I mean, people are so easy to quick to look back on things and to look up stuff and to figure out, oh, this happened. And also too, it
comes up in your memories. Like Snapchat is like, do you want to remember this thing from 5 years ago? I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. I actually didn't want to remember that from 5 years ago. Like, so I think that kids just don't get the severity of the permanence of the internet. Like, y'all,
in the cringe factor. Like, a lot of these kids don't realize how cringy they are. And you're like, dude or girl, like you have no idea. Quit posting this shit. Like, you are going to be cringing in 5 years. Like, also it's like the people that are making these, you know, these kids making these posts over somebody in a breakup, or, and it's just like, don't do this. But you also are just like, they haven't lived through it yet. They haven't experienced it. But it's like with technology, there's more ways to express themselves, which is good about expression, but it's like, hey, you don't want to do this.
Yeah. And also like there's that facade of technology, like that like I can be somebody else when I'm behind a screen. And so
exactly.
It's difficult. Like, I think it would be very difficult to navigate being a preteen right now with technology. Like, you have two sides of you. Like, this is who I am, this true awkward human that's natural and normal, but I have these filters and these things that I can hide behind, and I want to be that. And I feel so bad for them, because like, and parents, like, I don't know how parents today navigate social media for their kids, because everybody has it. So you have that pressure. But then you
And
can't really.
Matthew McConaughey and his wife, literally just in the news, their kid just turned 15. He just was allowed to join social media for the first time. That was their birthday gift to him. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
I mean, I think about all that. I don't have kids, and I'm like, I don't know how I would deal with that. Or like, how do you monitor it? Or how do you keep them from having a phone? I don't know. It's hard. And shout out to all the parents who are just trying their best. Not, and I don't know and that looks different for every parent, but fuck.
Oh, it's tough. I mean, it's tough. And to be honest, like, I feel very blessed. I don't have kids. Like, yeah, there's times where I want them some days, but it's just like, but at times I don't, because I see the world. I see how the direction of things are. But I'm also too, I see my friends and the situations they're dealing with their kids. And sometimes I ask them, I'm like, do you really want to keep putting more kids in through this when they want to have more and all this? It's just because sometimes it is scary, the direction. And also too, like, job security with places like, with technology, technology's taking jobs. So the world's it's always changing, but I think it is important though to have people like minded like you and like me and others that understand technology, but also realize you still need human contact, you still need human interaction, you still need human development to grow. Because
take off your mask.
Yeah. Well, think about it. You could be literally the most smartest person in the world, but if you don't have social skills, I'm sorry, you're not going to be successful in the world. Like, you can't be like, oh God, I know everything, but I have no idea how to talk to my coworkers, Walter and Rachel. It's like, no, you that's the point of school. That's the point of the That's
yeah. And my mom was asking me today, she was like, does learning happen all the time? I'm like, yeah. I mean, we might not be able to read all day. We might not be able to get through the math stuff, but when we have like a bad behavior day that prevents us from doing the curriculum, right, the school stuff, we absolutely learn how to work through our emotions, and we're hopefully modeling as teachers like, hey, this is how you manage your emotions. This is how we talk to each other when we're upset. So yeah, there's learning all the time. Like, kids are learning, and that's what school does for us, right? It's like, it's just percolation of knowledge all the time, like, just because you're around people. And so yeah, I think that JCPS school, where is doing that's doing its job, like putting kids in a place where they have to learn how to navigate for themselves and fend for themselves and speak up for themselves. And when they don't speak up for themselves, they'll learn the hard way. I mean, they have to in order to survive.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, I get in debates with people that have gone to private school over public school, and they'll be like, well, private school, and I tell them all the time, yeah, you might have got a better education, or you might, whatever.
You can write a badass essay.
Yeah.
But I can work with any type of person.
Anybody. Yes, thank you. Because that's the thing about it. You might be able to tell me the population of Guatemala off the top of your head, but guess what? I can interact with Guatemalans. And also, at the end of the day, too, the thing that I'm really blessed about JCPS, I met so many foreign exchange students. I was able to go to Norway. I actually fell in love with the foreign exchange student that went to J-Town. She was German. She moved to Nashville with me in college, and we fell in love. She actually just 2 years ago brought 3 German girls. Her and 2 other German girls came and stayed with me for 2 weeks in Louisville in my 1-bedroom apartment. That was wild. So, but I was showing them all of Louisville and was taking them around. It was just like a case of like, they wanted to see it all, but it was crazy that I met her and have built a lifetime connection all just because of JCPS. Like, I've met all these Norwegians because of JCPS. Like, I got a buddy named Go from Japan because of JCPS. It's like those schools, like the public schools that I went to, I was able to have those opportunities, and I'm very thankful for JCPS. Like, I think, yes, there's of course negatives that tie with any school, but I'm thankful for my experiences.
Me too. And I think that I will say, if and when I have children, I will send them to public school. I'm going to navigate that how I want, but I will. Because I think, like, especially, I also work I show apartments, and so I guess you could say I'm a real estate adjacent. But like, I'm not afraid to interact with people of all kind of the like in the rental world, right? You
Same,
work with a
same.
lot of interesting people in the rental community, like in the rental world, like who need apartments and stuff. And I feel like my ability and like my curiosity and my openness to others comes from my experiences of school, just because, that, I mean, public school is, I say public school is a microcosm of the world. Like, it is a smaller version of society.
It really is. And I've built so many lifetime connections, not only too with public school, with sports too, with public
Mhm.
school. I had a lot of friends from different cultures and different groups, and I really have gotten to go to a lot of places and family events that my friends and teammates had, where I learned things. And I've just like I said, going to Seneca and J Town, I just felt like you just know how to socialize with anybody. And so it's really cool to talk to you about this, because I've always been like-minded like this, that public school is important for social skills. And I
Mhm.
think it's cool, especially you as a teacher, that you feel the same way, because I do think of how important it is. And I think too, like, I showed apartments for a couple years with Bill Stout, through with Mary got me on there, and I love that job because you do meet different people, and you can really use the whole, tell me about your life story, tell me about this. And then when they start telling you things, like, especially for you, like, you could be like, well, oh, I went to India, that's cool, you're from Pakistan. Or,
Mhm.
oh, hey, I was in Japan, like, do you like Japanese food? And I did that a lot, because I literally would even see people that would come to these showings that I knew they were from America, but they might have like a different country's flag on their shirt. And I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you've been to the UK?" And they'd be like, "Oh no, I just saw a cool shirt." But it's a conversation starter.
Mhm.
And that's the best thing about it. So I just think overall, I think it's just important. People got to learn those things, and accept everybody. And I want to say this. I want to thank you for being a guest on my show. I
Thank
want to
you.
say I would love to have you come back on for next season. I think you're hilarious, and I think you really flow really well in the show. I
Thank
like
you.
too that, like, with you and I, we're friends, of course, but we only have hung out a few times. So I love how we're able to get on, pick right up. You were great on the show. I loved how we're able to talk about a wide plethora of things. I think you need to keep doing what you're doing with JCPS. I think you're important for the kids. I think it's important you giving them that human interaction, and I think it's great that you're an educator with the like mindedness of knowing. Like, I think, like, I agree with you that these kids need social skills, and you got to keep pushing in there. And I think all these travels and trips you're doing, you're also able to bring those experiences to the kids. So
Absolutely.
I just want to thank you again for being on the show. I want to thank you for taking the time, and I really appreciate it. I can't wait to hear about your future journeys on the next time you're on.
Thank
Tell
you.
everybody how they can reach out to you that maybe want to talk to you about JCPS, talk to you about your trips, just to get to know you. Tell them.
Yeah. So email is best. You can do that at andrea.wyatt27@gmail.com. That's my personal email. That way you can say whatever you want to say, and JCPS won't, look into us or anything. You can keep it real. If you are looking for any kind of t-shirts, I'm also doing a t-shirt business. So shout out to type2_designs on
Yeah,
Instagram and take a
yeah.
look what we're doing. We're traveling the country, following some bands and putting out merchandise. So that's pretty fun. Yeah, shout out to jam bands for giving me something to do. But yeah, email's best, or just find me on Instagram, Andrea_the lion. Yeah, that's me.
Nice, nice. Okay, and I want to shout out to Mary, and shout out to Cody Bear, two of our mutual homies. So we have to definitely shout them out. Also, former guests of Bible Sleazy.
And Cameron Sandusky, is he a
Yes, yes. Shout out to Killer Cam and Riley, everybody. So I think we all kind of know a lot of the same circle. I also want to say Vibing with Sleazy, the podcast t-shirts are at What Makes You Smile Gallery and Gifts, $25, small through 2X. So go get one today. I also want to tell everybody you can reach out, vibingwithsleazy@gmail.com. Also the website, vibingwithsleazy.com. Vibing with Sleazy The podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Reach out, show love, download, listen. Thank you for everybody that has been tuning in. Only a couple more episodes left. Like I said, this was episode 19, so 2 more to go, and season 4 will be complete. But I want to thank everybody for making this a great time, great opportunity, and this has been a great show. Thank you again, and we are out. Peace.